Is it going? That's what we wonder. So hard to tell. Says that it's going. Little tiny song of goingness. While we wait to see if it is going. Wait, is it going? While we wait to see it's going. All right. I won two. I won two, three. Now we're gonna hear from Tiny Gary.
Alright, continuing the Piro thing, I was hoping enough time had passed to speed it up, but still the video is not providing that feature.
Good.
Because beyond friendship, you can get away from being with a friend, actually.
So this has something to do with some sort of like we're supposed to have interactions in a certain way, and the fact that those interactions
No.
degrade, it's like Holiday using the word arbitrary over and over again. There's a certain point where that's just calling me a bigot or something, or somebody manipulating the truth for my purposes. It's just an attack
Here's
on
Big
somebody's credibility or
Gary.
their integrity, and those things are going to happen.
Bigger
We're going
Gary.
to insult each other because we disagree, and the strength or intensity of our passion for what we're arguing is going to bleed into the conversation.
Well, no. I don't insult you because I disagree. I insult you when you liken me to a white nationalist, something you've complained about people doing to you. I do not insult you because of your idiotic ideas about science.
And yeah, eventually, I'm not going to see anything but
That could be considered an insult. However, I don't insult you, right? I said the ideas were idiotic. And frankly, that's what I find acceptable here. If you calling my ideas about consciousness in tiny, tiny bugs idiotic, yeah, I understand you get emotional about that. But when you call me like a white nationalist, no, that's different. You can't see that because I see you tell people like Brett Keane things like, you can't see that, don't belch in the camera. Well, I consider that a big ass belch, motherfucker.
little mustache here and volts and I'm going to pigeonhole what I see taking place in terms of if I see glib. And like I said, that word bothers you, and I frankly should bother you as a reasonable person. To be called glib is to recognize that, what does that mean besides sloppy, convenient, selfish kind of thinking, not thoughtful, not complete, not correct. Yeah, so it's a loaded word, but it's...
Yeah, not careful, like you. The math doesn't matter. Um, yeah, I know what it means. Yeah, that's why I'm insulted by it. Hey, let's get on the same page.
sincerely thrown. So I'm just saying, regardless that this becomes a mud fight, I don't know how else to... our vocabulary, I guess, just doesn't have the tools to make it possible to say, I think your argument is vacuous nonsense without saying something like, you're full of shit. Because...
Well, you won't learn new words. You don't have a good enough vocabulary. I mean, that's the problem there.
frankly, there's no way to say it. There's no way for me to describe how poorly formed I think your fucking argument is without saying your brain obviously creates poorly formed arguments. So you're obviously an idiot.
Right. I don't get where the white nationalism comes into it.
So I'm just saying it's inevitable.
It's inevitable that you'll, say I'm like a white nationalist. I'm so bad. I'm as bad as a white nationalist in my own way. Therefore, that's inevitable. Yeah, it's inevitable with you because you have an emotional issue, Gary. It's not inevitable in reality for all people, all pairs of people. No. I've disagreed with plenty of people that I did work with, way more than you. I've worked with conservatives that have crazy ideas about what counts as abortion or violating God's law. You could still make a park with them. You can still make a conversation with them. Like in that case of that guy I'm thinking about right there, I made a blog so that he could argue with a liberal, and I just played middleman and neutral. We did podcasts. I was producer. They said, no, you should talk to podcasts. And I'm like, no, that would be two liberals and a conservative. I like that. I think providing, right? And I didn't call him a white nationalist. You calling me a white nationalist is just your bad character.
How much we should tolerate from each other is exactly my point. I'm just looking over in the history of all these conflicts and all these arguments. I'm saying, what is the value of this? Like I said, I had some value in the mystic in the sense that the mystic every now and then did shake my brain and rattle some ideas into formation. And as I pointed out, you, on the other hand, have just been, like Holiday, it's just this circular, continuous argument of the same bullshit over and over and over again, and it doesn't produce any value.
Well, no, because you don't value that you change, but you are changing in a direction of preferring your new ideas to your old ones, and it's quite obvious that's in reaction to our conversation, among other things.
Much. Like I said, the rare moments. Like I said, hopefully pointing out that the thermodynamic problem with a kinetic system, the Jap has some element that changes in it. Because it was purely kinetic, it wouldn't ever change.
I'm just asking you to admit, if you're going to talk to me, that I'm honestly trying to present terms, and yeah, they're
Well, whatever. Again, you're going to make this argument again about how your terms are technical. I'm saying they're technical mush. You're saying love is a technical term? No, it isn't. You're saying Heisenberg's a technical term? No, it isn't. This stuff isn't.
No, not love. I think I was talking about locality. It's something you're going to look up in the near future. Or did you already look it up in this segment? No one knows, really. And I don't think I was really relying on love at all. I'm not against love. It's a poet's term. You're lying. I'm not making my arguments based on a concept of love. There isn't even anything that I do say that can be construed that way, like the pantheism of, well, you say parameciums are living creatures that, sense limited amounts of light, and they taste sugar through their cell membrane, and then they react to that like a little bug. With this new eyesight on this, this is pretty vile, Gary.
Technical, and that it's not demonstrated or proven. People just, again, I will argue that all this stuff has been fucking, they keep referencing the two-slit experiment, when even that's a fraud.
And what have I said? I said your system was idiotic. That's just honesty, right? I haven't likened you to a Nazi because of it. Even though you do have questionable ideas about some of that stuff, right? You have opportunities. I, having read Nietzsche, believe that the higher ground isn't for the other person, it's for yourself. And I don't need to take advantage of petty advantages, like reputations that other people have put on you, or even things that you have said yourself that could be made hay with. I only pursue the things I'm actually interested in. It's a supreme level of honesty in the argument.
Alright, kind of these little
Fuck that bullshit. Let's go. I don't know how far in I was in. Let's try here. Go straight to the end, man.
Jesus Freak understands that welfare is paid out of tax dollars that are collected for lots of things, like for the military and for this and for that. And then there's no fund for this.
What the fuck happened there? Jesus creeping. That's not the fucking video. Oh, I see. It's way further back than I thought.
Make this argument again about how your terms are technical. I'm saying they're technical mush. You're saying love is a technical term? No, it isn't. You're saying Heisenberg's a technical term? No, it isn't.
Heisenberg, I never said Heisenberg was a technical term or love. You're just making this shit up out of nothing I ever said. Lies.
Stuff isn't technical, and that it's not demonstrated or proven. People just
right, because a misinterpretation is one thing, but that's a lie. I'm not always bringing up tunnel microscope. Find the last fucking video I mentioned that, but I have mentioned it in the past. But basing everything on love, that's just a total lie. That's never been a part of our conversation. You're making that up, I guess, for your in Mendham channel.
Again, I will argue that all this stuff has been fucking, they keep referencing the two-slit experiment, when even that's a fraud. Not only does the experiment not prove anything, but the real experiment is the single-slit experiment. So they can't even identify the right experiment that's relevant. That's the one that creates...
No, the reason the two-slit experiment is relevant is because when you move the second slit, the pattern changes. And that's the thing that has just gone way over your head. Why would that matter? So the pattern changes with the second slit? Well, that's easy. Just have one slit.
It's anything that really has to be explained. Damn it. So don't tell me that you're making this precise technical clean argument. You're not. You're fucking appealing to authority, for fuck's sake.
You are. All the science students in the universe.
Responded with anything called a counter-argument. Nothing. I keep pointing out how there's single-slit interference, and you keep pretending that's diffraction, or that's Huygens, or there's some other catch-22. No.
It is interference. It is diffraction. Diffraction is a kind of interference caused by masking a wave, and the only explanation that I've seen that makes sense, and it makes a lot of sense, is the mathematical slash physical explanation of, well, every point on the wave's going up and down, so it's kind of causing a ripple. All of those ripples from the whole point front of the wave are interacting, and when you mask part of it, basically because of the missing part of the wave, you get a kind of interference pattern. And that's all in the wiki too.
Oh, that's not an argument.
To have that one at a time detail thing. You just want to have it on, your words, your new words, and also we can't really.
Well, that's all bullshit too. I'm just saying that I don't care whether you want to come up with some word. I don't care. I'm describing the force. I'm saying, look, there's this thing, just like a photon, except not a virtual photon. It's not virtual. It's an actual ton. It just isn't visible. It just doesn't have a frequency, and so therefore it doesn't accelerate electrons the same way.
Take it to your definition and try to make it more clear, because that's just doubting you, and it's obviously already clear and proven. Your whole system is obviously just intuitive and great, and everybody can see that it was perfect.
Well, I'm just saying, go look up Mach gravity. I'll say it again. This was thought of 300 years ago. Somebody else thought of this, okay, before me. And yeah, the flaw was they couldn't make it work because of the thermodynamic problem. So again, because I didn't know there was something previous, I got around the thermodynamic problem. I saw the way to get around it because I wasn't programmed to think it was a problem. So I didn't have to make it a problem.
And yet you're still.
Well, to be honest, yes, I could learn more about your view on that, but I think the way you got around it is by ignoring any rigorous tests. You haven't compared your system to it. Those are mathematical constraints. And you just are like, dude, the math is going to work out at the end. I'll just get a math guy. I'll just hire a math guy, and he'll just math it up. Won't matter. Important part's my woo-woo, my emotional statements. It's the tones and the fishes, man.
Working on it, changing it.
Refining it. So again, you can use different words to describe the process. I'm refining it, but the basic idea of the constituent elements isn't, none of that's going to change. The fact that gravity is a real force, like magnetism, and that like magnetism and gravity, they're real things like the force of light. Light is a force. The electromagnetic spectrum is force. It travels.
Right, according to quantum mechanics, agrees with you, right? Those are a force-carrying particle.
In a straight line at the speed of light. The exact same thing magnetism does, the exact same thing gravity does. That's not a coincidence.
Right, a photon is a quantization of force, but then again, it's not that simple since there's many kinds of quantization, and because of E equals mc squared, everything is a quantization of force, even things in this weird matter stasis.
That's evidence.
But I'm talking to you for all these years when it's in this raw state, which it still is, still being worked on, which is great, that's fine. But then you act like it's this unchanging thing. Why am I always questioning you on it?
No, I don't mind you questioning me. That's not what you're doing. You're not questioning me. You're authoritizing at me. You're saying the authorities say this. They say this is the truth. They've debunked it. You've even said that something's been debunked. What? Show me that. Show me the debunk. Show me where a particle of gravity was actually debunked. Show it to me. It was debunked by reputation only. That's
a particle of gravity. Everybody believes in that, Gary. The graviton is mainstream. What?
it. Feynman debunked it by thinking it was raindrops. Is that debunking? You first misdescribed the ultramundane particle as a raindrop. Is that ultramundane? Would anybody consider a raindrop an ultramundane particle? And they certainly wouldn't think raindrops were consistent. They're all exactly the same size and have exactly the same force. So him analogizing it to raindrops is hardly doing physics.
And how is it useful to talk to me when...
What is he talking about, the raindrops?
And my questions help generate answers. You come up with answers for it. In the case of the science, that's totally bullshit.
Oh, right. So, yeah, my pointing out how the lensing evidence is weak, that's all bullshit. Well, I'm saying no.
Well, you haven't pointed shit out. It obviously, the images look like lensing. The relativity calls for lensing. The lensing has been seen many ways. And, you know, if it turns out that there was an error in the original relativity experiment with lensing around the sun, maybe, because it was a pretty hard phenomenon to catch. Maybe they didn't catch it and they fudged something. But it wouldn't matter because it turned out to be true because it's been measured and seen a lot of times. And if you look at those lensing examples of lensed galaxies behind other galaxies, what's your other fucking explanation for a color of light that is exactly spread out in a lens effect that anybody that's seen photographs made by cameras with lenses could recognize as lensing effects? You know, so you're denying it. It's just because you feel it's a threat to your theory. And I know your theory is wrong and crazy, but I am interested in it because I believe in that crazy logic is interesting and it teaches us more about valid logic. Right? I can't get more honest than that, Gary. You have contradictions in your system, the math won't work out. Even the logic won't work out because you're trying to reproduce things with single slit experiments that will somehow affect the double slit experiment, when the point of there being two slits is that you move the one slit. It shows that you got one particle, two slits, but where the extra slit goes affects things. You are incapable of even knowing that you have to handle that.
No,
And that's the whole
inability to
point.
concede the fact that the evidence is weak is the bullshit.
Crazy answers, but you think that you're doing something there, and it's from having a backboard. You don't know what the use of it is. I'm talking to somebody, that's not going to threaten you anyway.
I don't even know what that means, but whatever. I'll say to that. Striped shirt.
Well, you ought to be able to figure that out. So I'm not glib about it in general, or about life, or about anything. The only thing you can say that about, that I'm helpful.
Well, look, I mean, it seems incredibly glib to me, frankly. If somebody's going to talk about the fact that sentience goes all the way down, that not only are the insects sentient, but that the microbes are sentient. And when you think about the number of microbes, I mean, the insane number of microbes. And then for me to imagine the little children microbes being slaughtered and killed and, screaming in pain, to say it's not, the person doesn't have to be an insanely glib person to sit there and somehow be charmed by that fact rather than grotesquely horrified that I've just increased the magnitude of suffering on planet Earth by 1 billion or 1 trillion fold. 1 trillion times is bad of war. So I'm on the battlefield seeing the dead bodies, and then somebody informs me this is only 1 trillionth of the carnage. 1 trillionth. And I'm somehow happy. So yeah, my accusation of glib is fully appropriate.
To kill the babies, just like Hillary, is that my position in anti-natalism, which is pro-choice.
Again, that's like having been pro-choice on rape. So brilliant idea. I mean, you just pointed out why you are unacceptable. Okay, as in anything. Pro-choice on rape. Fuck you. Pro-choice on exploitation. Fuck you.
No, it's pro-choice on reproduction. Pro-choice on reproduction sounds a lot like pro-choice on abortion. So it's like pro-choice on abortion, which some people think is murder. And maybe you're one of those people. It's just hard to tell since you're pro-murder.
You. Pro-choice on, again, the very idea that you think nature's productive. That's the whole point of the glib argument. You think you're running a profit, that somehow this is a profitable enterprise. I have nothing to account for, so yes, make more of it. Everybody, hey, be pro-choice because it's profitable. It's like making free cookies. Of course, I'm free. I'm pro-choice to the free cookie making. And that's why you're a glib motherfucker.
It's a pro-choice position.
Again, a pro-choice position, and you're just totally ignoring the victims. I'm one of the victims who says, look, my ignorant mother had no right to tell me life is worth living. She had no right to invest me in any of this shit. Why should she have any fucking pro-choice to create human beings? Why are you pro-choice on Frankenstein monsters? Why the fuck would any idiot be pro-choice on that? You're a fucking idiot.
It's personal choice. And
pro-choice on laboratory experimentation. Yeah, go ahead. Open the monkey's brain, poke at it, jerk at it, stick on nails in its goddamn eyes. I'm pro-choice on exploitation, experimentation, convenient. I'm entertained by it. I think it's fun. Pro-choice on dogfighting.
No, but you're pro-choice on whether you allow suffering people to come to a place where there's much less suffering, like the United States. You think you have a choice there to prohibit those people from coming to a land that, at best, people that were here before your ancestors stole on your behalf. So you're pro-choice on that, right? So it's easy to be all morally superior. And this is what I meant by morally superior. And you do that. You take that easy route.
Choice on bullfighting. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
that means I'm the most terrible person in the world because you have this ladder where you climb to the top of it.
Yeah, any asshole who can't figure out that it's not a pro-choice issue is an asshole. That's right, you're a fucking asshole.
Go and say, look, there's really only one bad thing, and that is approving of people having children.
It's not the only bad thing, but it's the fucking ultimate cause. It's the fucking most obvious and easily prevented cause of harm there can possibly be. Don't get in a car and you're pretty much guaranteed that you're not going to have a car accident.
Okay, so what I'm demonstrating here is how Gary can reliably be made to climb to the top of his little mountain. You just call him on this aspect of it, and he will climb that little ladder to the top of his little mountain, and he will sit up there and say, fuck you, I'm not just up here to say fuck you.
Way, me ignoring misery in the world, which, yeah, I'm going to back that up in a minute.
Back it up with more of your Band-Aid solutions that are never going to fix the problem.
You get to ignore that.
Ignore what? Again, that you're going to bring up victims in the world and say you're going to fix the victims by putting more Band-Aids on their gunshot wounds. So instead of stopping the guns, instead of stopping the war, you're just going to keep putting Band-Aids on the wounds.
And I put it in the title, haven't I?
So another distraction, another pile of shit. I haven't said shit about Syria. I don't give a shit about the politics. It's religious kook against religious kook. There's no good choices. So unless you're going to install a civilization that is a secular, rational society, then there's no fucking option here. Just get the fuck out and let them kill each other.
Right, the title. The title is so important of a thing. Titles of chapters, titles of books, titles of videos. They're one of the few things that I take carefully. But it's important not to take it carefully, right? Because if people know if they are allowed to read too much into it. So about 75% of the time, I just type in a random title that's basically some, kind of a poem, a one-line poem. Doesn't have to rhyme, it's only one line, that just comes from whatever's wafting through. And then some of the time, I'm very careful, like in this case, because I was able to tell Gary ahead of time where I was going. And I was curious to know if he's obviously sees the title when he clicks on it, but would he say something about it before it comes up directly? Now, I also, if you noticed earlier on, I didn't mention Syria, but I mentioned the issue. Actually, I think several times. I'd have to look again to see. But even then, and yet right at this moment, he's like, fuck you, I'm not talking about Syria. I'm talking about fishes flying in the speed of light.
Your policy on immigration, on refugees in particular, there's people in countries that are at war, which means,
Right, so we have a civil war in America. I shouldn't pick sides. I shouldn't say, yes, slavery does suck. I guess I have to fight for the Union. Instead, I should go sit in the corner and wait till the war's over and then exploit the fuck out of the damage.
We aren't in a civil war with the Syrians. That's the problem there. With that line of reasoning. Bucko.
Is that what I should do in America as an American when there's a...
I'm sorry, I mean, I can only... See, that's the kind of thing where, okay, that sounds glib, right? No, I take it very seriously. It's just, I can't watch 65 minutes of this stuff and not blow off some steam by pointing out that although I am taking it seriously with an hour of my valuable time, it's only to point out how ludicrous it is. Now, I don't like to take a mainstream person and say, here's how a mainstream person... No, I like to take an eccentric person and show how their ideas are shared with the mainstream. Here's a guy who will make a crank scientific theory. I mean, I know that's harsh, but, he's no friend of mine, just some stranger on the internet that I've talked to for 10 years. He'll take a crank science theory and shove that stuff and then say things to me like, do you think scientists, kids that are in graduate school of science, do you think that they would believe an electron's alive? And that's his argument against me saying that paramecium have some sort of primitive, conscious, a reaction thing. They feel, good when they taste sugar probably. Some sort of a, like your brain, like living things do, some sort of juice in their emotional stream comes in that motivates them. It's because they're information processing units just like all life. That makes me a terrible person. Doesn't make any sense.
The civil war in America, I should just go move to Canada for a few years and then move back after it's over and take advantage?
Rape and man. And they could be rescued from that war for relatively little. And just a lot.
Well, again, your assessment of relatively little. I have made no videos on the subject of the Syrian conflict. This is not my fucking...
Right, of course, because you're in denial. You just want to talk about how you care about suffering. All suffering's subjective, but you've made no videos about the suffering that's going on right now anywhere in the world, not just Syria, but you just don't make many videos about the suffering. I mean, we both had an acquaintance. I would like to call him a friend, but I don't know, probably like you, he wouldn't want to call me a friend. But he was definitely one of my top 3 antinatalists, derived energy. And he died, I believe murdered, in a prison in a fucked up place that is really fucked up about marijuana, specifically because of American influence. And he's passed away, and people over there continue to suffer from that regime. You don't give a shit. You don't make videos about that. You don't make videos about the suffering in Syria. You don't make videos about any of the suffering that's going on in the world in any specific way. No, because you don't have to. You can make 100 hours of ephilism videos, and it doesn't matter if a kid's, dying of I don't know, what is it in the dirty typhoid or whatever, in the dirty water because they have to drink water out of a puddle on the surface of the earth instead of a fucking well that would only have to be a couple 100 feet deep. You don't make videos about that. I do. But I'm not saying that makes me a good person. I make videos about stuff that isn't that, fundamentally earth-shaking, like what it's like for my lake to freeze. Oh, yeah, by the way. So this thing behind me, that's out front of my house. This is what it looks like out there right now. It's best when I just move it up. That's what it looks like outside of my house with the snow and the ice. I haven't walked on the lake yet. That's at an angle. An angle out from the house, not straight out. Straight out would be, let's see, like straight out would be like, well, straight out here is just like that. Straight out here is that way, and that picture though is more like that way.
Whatever game to play. It's all fucking Hillary Clinton and fucking Obama that made all this fucking mess in the first place. Let them pay for it. Hillary's a fucking millionaire. Let her pay for the refugees, okay? But she fucking made them. All right? She made them for graft and evil fucking purposes. So let her clean up. Let Clinton clean up. Let the rest of the liberocrats who fucking did this whole fucking Arab Spring bullshit, who went over there fucking killing and assassinating people because they were going to give freedom to people. Bullshit. They didn't accomplish a motherfucking thing. They just made the goddamn mess worse. Clinton killed 1 million fucking babies in goddamn Iraq by imposing motherfucking Bush's policy. He should have just ended it there. He should have just said fuck.
And you should want to allow those people to escape their factual and actual suffering, but you don't. So I think you're just as to blame as them. Well, maybe not just as. I mean, yeah, because I guess they had more to do in creating it, but they're not the only ones.
Fuck this shit. Fuck the anti-fly zone. Fuck the whole fucking thing. Let's get the fuck out of there. So don't pretend I've advocated for the cause of this fucking mess. All right? But I certainly don't have any goddamn empathy for religious kooks. So don't tell me I'm responsible to fix the messes religious shitheads make. Because I don't think I am in any rational way. We had to go ask France, okay, for help, with the Civil War. We couldn't just demand it. Fuck you. This is bullshit. To tie me to this Syrian shit is bullshit. Alright, well,
No.
time to stitch these two videos together, so I'll do a little more Puro, watch a little bit more of it. It's difficult for me anyway. Anyway, so he just wants to give the Syrian refugees land, and it's, it's free land, we don't need it to, it's not a problem, and like the immigrants aren't, I keep making this argument. Culture is fragile. You don't want to believe that culture is fragile, fine. I think that's ludicrous. I think history demonstrates it's fragile. And the divisiveness and
No, it's deeper than that. You see, I'm of mixed race myself. And I believe everybody is of mixed race. Furthermore, I like mixed community. I like all the different cultural things and foreign sounds and stuff. It's taken me decades to realize other people don't like that. And that's fine. They can not like that. We should figure out ways to accommodate people that just don't like foreign smells. Like, they should stay at home. That would be a solution I can imagine. Just stay at home. Be very careful about the businesses you go to. You'll have a subset. There'll probably be someone catering to your, dislike of patchouli. Okay, go ahead.
Of culture you're going to see in the Middle East was created by Islam. They got religion, and they went from being intelligent, scientific people to being barbarians. And
well, that's interesting you say that. So, I mean, yeah, the basic thing is I don't like our traditional culture in the West. I don't see something there to preserve. I see something to rebuild. So that's the difference. You being from old New England, money part of the world, and you might not have had a lot of that money, but still you evidently were influenced by its prejudices. And you want to preserve that. I don't. I don't want to preserve that. I want a new culture, a new multiculture. Basically, if you read Goebbels' diary, if you read what Jung said and the nationalists said about why they don't like the Nazi why they don't like Jews, because the Jews like a cosmopolitan, mixed, urban kind of society. Yeah, that's why I'm for that conspiracy. Yes, that's what I want, a cosmopolitan, mixed society, a new kind of culture. I'm not here trying to preserve Western civilization as you understand it. I happen to know that when we go forward, we will find we have all of the benefits of Western civilization. I'm more American than you. I believe in independence. I believe in doing your own thing. I believe in the full American ideal. Guns, which you are scared of. And so going forward and creating a new culture, our culture is going to be a part of this cosmopolitan culture, multicultural, the true way, not the German ghettos, not multiculturalism that's apartheid or segregation or natural separatism. No, mixed up, married to each other, partying with each other, showing each other their cultural things, switching cultural identities. You know, being Jamaican, decided I kind of like English food and music. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the pub and listen to some Irish songs. And the Irish guy becomes a big reggae head and has dreadlocks. That's what I'm for. We're against it. We're going to lose our culture. I feel bad for you, but I hope you lose.
You know, killing everything in sight. Each other mostly. But you know, I'm just saying, I don't see any value in it. And the circumstances, that, you know, there's no winners here. You can't solve the problem. I guess I'm arguing. No matter where you put the seed of Islam, it will grow bad trees. However you want to say that. And America is not strong enough. You think it is? I don't think it's teetering. Okay, on becoming a third world country. And I don't think that argument is outrageous. And so if you think my lack of sympathy is for some other reason than the fact that I wish to preserve what.
I'm not saying it's for another reason. Let's see. I think you're going to say it's for the reason I said. That the objective negative of human suffering has some exception we're about to hear.
I considered a country that landed on the moon and did things, and it did it because it had a cohesion. And that cohesion is slipping right through our fingers, in my opinion.
So, the objective value of cohesion is greater than the objective value of their suffering. But wait a second. Cohesion is a positive value, right? And it even feels good. Cohesion is a positive value. There's no suffering in cohesion, right? Nobody suffers in cohesion. So it doesn't have an objective value. But the suffering of those Syrian people that want to be refugees, that's suffering, so that has an objective value. But somehow American cohesion is a more objective, it's of greater value. I mean, when we say, look, it's those guys relieving actual suffering, or us feeling less cohesion, the feeling less cohesion is actually of greater value. It overpowers their actual suffering, which is, you know, the dead children and the blown off legs thing, and it's suffering, and the other, there's no suffering. I guess there must be objective value in positive experiences. The positive experience of having cohesion is more valuable than their suffering. Odd. So I guess you've changed your position on that. That must have been in one of those videos I missed.
I mean, you can judge the reason why I have the fear of the common person on this subject all you want, but you're not convincing me that it's irrational at all. Okay. I can just emphasize, religious kooks are just not good for America. Yeah, really bad for any kind of America I want to live in. Which is, you know, we finally got the Christians to shut the fuck up, essentially, in some respects.
Well, you haven't proved that those refugees are a bunch of religious kooks. I would deny that. I mean, there might be a minority of those. But I think a lot of the religious kooks are going to stay over there and take part in the religious war.
And, you know, it's all coming back. All right. So now.
You know, like when there's a war-torn region, I'm going to make a series of videos about the major misunderstandings and mistakes that most people have. But when there is a war, who do you think some of the first families to flee are? It's like the Von Trapps in Sound of Music. It's rich people that are like rich liberals, but not necessarily even liberals. It's people that realize I plan to have, kids of my own wealth level, and they were supposed to become a doctor and a lawyer, and can't really do that in a warlord, dominated Somalia, Iraq, Nazi Germany. I think I better leave. And when you get down to the poor people, it's the same thing. It's the poor people that are like, this situation is not worth it. I have more ambitions in this. I didn't want to become a doctor or a lawyer, but I did want to keep selling ramen noodle and just, chill out on my days off. What the fuck is this war zone stuff? Refugees have a high percentage of people that are way, way more brave to leave. Most weak people and most even strong people will stay in their homeland, try to wait it out and eke it by and send their kids to school anyway. And it always blew my mind in these war zones. Kids still go to school with a lot of interruption and stuff. But they're walking over dead bodies sometimes. But yeah, I could see you feel bad about this. I could see I'm right. You know when you're going, I don't even make videos about this. You should. You should be. Say you're an ethicist. You're an ethicist. But you also say that suffering is an objective negative. And for you to be ignoring objective suffering and talking to Brett Keane, that's not a justifiable use of time by the argument you've just been giving me in these last couple of videos alone.
He's talking about Brett Keane for some reason, like I'm talking to Brett Keane. Well, Brett Keane's being relevant to subjects I'm interested in, which is the meaning of life, existence, and religion, to some extent. So those are conversations I don't mind having. The endless conversations with you about open borders and a land tax, and parameciums that think, I'm done with those conversations. There's no,
See, since you mentioned land tax, I'd like to mention one thing about Gary is that it's not just Gary that's obtuse. Many, many people don't. And I've always just been like, hey, I'll throw this out there and see who notices. Because it's a way of me getting information. What I've been realizing now that I'm 7 to the 7, well, no, I'm 7 times 7, not 7 to the 7, I wish. I said that earlier, too. But now that I'm that old, I'm realizing, maybe I shouldn't just be collecting information. Maybe I should edify ignorance like Gary.
You're more cement-headed than the religious kooks in some ways. Or at least I'm just tired of it. I can say that. Maybe I'll be tired of Brett Keane's insinuation soon enough. But whatever. Yeah, too bad.
He caught himself. He's like, wait, I just called Piero more thick-headed than Brett Keane. I mean, that's a good insult, but that's not really very realistic. But whatever.
Well, whatever that feel superior thing is again. So these are all accusations regarding my psychological intentions or something, or motivations or some other kind of crap. And you can go ahead and play that song, but it sounds like a garbage tune to me. Well, again, your definition of friendly is different than my definition of friendly, and this incompatibility didn't start yesterday. I mean, it's been the entire time I've known you. This has been really unpleasant. I mean, anybody.
Well, there's truth to that. It's not been pleasant, but then again, I'm not a person that judges all of my experiences on their pleasant factor. I actually believe that life isn't about maximizing the pleasantness. Pleasantness is nice, but it's also, in good doses, like like sweets. I don't need a whole cake. I just want a bite of cake's enough for me to get the basic gist of it and have the full shiver of enjoyment. And you eat too much of it, it backfires on you. So why do that, right?
Makes a joke about it and stuff like, it's funny. Gary got upset again. But I mean, my interactions with you are frustrating and irritating. I don't enjoy it.
Well, right. The thing is, have you or have you not learned anything by it? I know that you have, and I know that you have adopted some things that I have argued over the years. Um, I know you possibly feel bad because it's very hard to find a reciprocal example of something that I now believe because of you. There's other people on YouTube. Uh, I enjoy to give the examples. Casino McCool, for example. But maybe you're just sore about that. But the fact that this isn't pleasant, it's like, well, I mean, if you're hearing this conversation, it's got to be about the curiosity and the intellectual challenge. Um, it's like uh, doing a bike race. It's not that every single moment feels good, it's that the overall thing feels good and worthwhile because your personal drive is like, yeah, I just love being on the bike, and when I think back and it's zen, and that's when I realize I love my wife, or it's an experience you appreciate. And again, I'm saying this as an example of I don't like to do that, but in anything you stress, physical, including the brain, um, there can be benefits separate from the instantaneous pleasantness that you received. And if you find yourself doing things that are unpleasant and you don't get it, you should probably assume there's some part of your metabolism finds pleasant or positive in some long run or at some other point in time other than when you're actually watching the video. Like you can have this difficult experience exercising at the gym or trying to keep up with me, and it feels all stressful and unpleasant, but later on once you've done it and you've worked off your sweat, you're extra relaxed and you're like, wow, that was an accomplishment. I actually I didn't keep up with Piero. I can't quite keep up with him. He's always a step ahead of me, but I stayed in the ring, and even though he knocked me out in the third round, that's 2.5 whole rounds, and you could feel proud about that. It's like an accomplishment. I mean, it must be something like that, or else why would you keep doing it? I know that's what it is in my case, because I'd rather have these conversations without you calling me like as bad as a white nationalist. I would totally prefer that, and I think I'm going to try to do my best to keep it in that realm. I know some people won't recognize that because I'm still going to say, oh, your system is a crank system. But to me, that's different than, because it's clear to everybody, it should be, how I come to that calculation. Whereas how you say I'm as bad as a white nationalist, that's not clear at all. That's just a big fat lie of hypocrisy where you're going to do to other people what you've even just recently complained about when it was done to you. And you're going to say, oh, people do think it's your reputation. Well, Gary, there's people that watch your channel, many thousands of them, many more than I don't even know what your subscriptions are, but they've always been, 10 times as much as mine. And so there's people that see your thing. Where do you think reputations come from, genius? Your lies. You likening how terrible I am to a white nationalist in your little head might make sense. If you and I are talking and you said that, we go, well, okay, you're obviously just trying to make a point. But no, you're saying it not to me in an extreme metaphorical sense, but to a bunch of people that are just like, oh, I don't really care if they're gullible and take it literally. I doubt people watch you and take what you say literally, but they do take it, wholly, and a lot of them don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They're like you. They don't care if it's true or not. It's like, I'm entertained, or whatever it is. And in the end, you, who even recently has complained about being, called a Holocaust denier, you're out there saying I'm like a white nationalist, and you somehow think that links up, and that's okay. That you're justified in that. Which, if there is an objectivity, and there is, it's something we calculate from the information we get through our subjective senses, then, that's pretty fucked up, pretty wrong. You have no basis And you know you have no basis, but you're like, but I'm just saying it's kind of a Trump thing. It's like, yeah, but I'm just saying it gets a point across. Yeah, gets a point across. Mm-hmm.
In the sense of at least calm. I'm not going to put it where I ever do the things that I kind of like about your find, like watching your videos or.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not saying anything draconian other than, I just will reduce my. I'll wait till you say something I really need to reply to, but otherwise, I don't want to play with you. You don't do anything good for me.
Yeah, all that's my predilections is, so you want it. But it's certainly true that you're.
You know, then please stop making hour-long videos to me because you're sending mixed messages.
I can compromise on a lot of things. I won't compromise on the core, and that's why I can't tolerate Trick. Is because he's playing this stupid game with this idiotic idea that somehow he can make the consequences of value unmeaningful or something not a truth in the universe. The product of 2 plus 3. Well, the 5 is we can change that number anytime we want. But we can't change the 2 or the 3. They're facts. And that kind of bullshit just rips the foundation of something. His perception of free will is fucked by I can't remember what stupid thing he had some conditional crap in there that fucked that game. There's no point in punishing prisoners. When we know deterrence works, no doubt about it. So it's a moot conversation because we're not talking about individuals living in an individual universe. But anyway, that's a whole other subject. But yes, my intolerances for certain fundamental errors is complete because if you don't get the foundation right, everything built on it is shit. So yeah, I'm a foundationalist. So you can be an idealist, and I'm going to be a foundationalist. If you don't get the core truth right, there's no point because you're going to veer off into Daffy Duck eventually.
I don't think I'm an idealist. I think I'm a pragmatist. Now, when it comes down to do I have ideals, well, I mean, I have convictions. There are some convictions like, that you should not pick on, a weaker creature. Not just because it's weaker and not for other reasons. You shouldn't pick on it. You should, if you have to deal with it, you should be as gentle as possible. Convictions like that. I don't think those are really ideals in the sense of Platonic idealism. No, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in these abstract concepts. But it's funny you even use a word like that because I know you don't really know. It's just like locality. You haven't bothered to learn what the rest of all the languages mean when they're talking about idealism. You think because of my care about people and saying it's worth caring about people, we shouldn't just want them all to die off. To you, that's as if I'm always talking about love and I'm just about ideals. It's like Ayn Rand's objectivism. It's not that she's objective. What she means is stop being so soft-hearted. Stop wanting to let refugees have less suffering. But I would like to remind everybody that I actually believe that immigrants of all sorts, especially refugees, are very good for America. And I would say good for any nation, but other nations don't seem to know how to deal with it and handle it and make it good. But America's whole recipe, the whole reason we have success, also because we got a good piece of property here, is the people using that property, and it's been immigrants. And so I think it's good for us. But we should also do it because it's good for them. It's the right thing to do. And Gary even said that it was American presidents and politicians that caused it, that he doesn't want to do anything. And yet his taxes go to cause it, to help cause it. And by the way, that's a troll for you to say, I don't pay taxes, so no, technically not. Just so you know, telling you ahead of time.
Like, you're not going to go build a playground because some people are going to. You're not going to.
Well, I'm not going to build playgrounds because I don't think we need playgrounds. I'm a big fan of public playgrounds, so that's why I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's a good expenditure of money. So that's probably the reason I'm not going to build one. There's better things for kids to be doing than wasting their time spinning around in circles.
RV, having an RV website.
I thought you would say that. But if I agree with somebody else that wants to have a playground for the kids in the neighborhood, and we disagree on other things, but we agree on that playground, I'll build that playground with them because I'm a better man than you.
Something that video in favor of it's ready. Because somebody doesn't agree with you on this hypothetical red button obviously is
No, if you want to create some mechanism that I can support, I will support it. I'm just saying going through you with conversations about these subjects is futile and tedious. So yes, I'll push wherever I can help push, but we don't work very well together.
Well, see, now there you get to some. Yes, I would not have an objection about we can't work together in the end, right? I don't trust you to stick with the thing. We talked about certain ideas in the past, and like you, I'm sure you have a very similar but the complementary version of it. I don't see you as someone I can really work with, because when you work with somebody, there gets to be difficulties and you got to figure out differences of opinions and find compromises, and you have absolutely no ability to compromise.
And so that's,
You make something, I'll push
yeah, obviously using that as a philosophical crutch so that you don't have to do those things. It's easier.
another, accusation impugning my character, blah, 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 blah. Fine, I don't give a shit. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, that's where we are now. You're going to impugn my character, and I have no choice. I think when you call me as bad as a white nationalist, that is a character flaw on your part. I'm sorry, I've done a self-review, and I don't see that I am a person that needs to be called that because of some necessity of life where I need to face up to my white nationalist tendencies. I think that is like 1,000% bullshit, and it's obviously 1,000% bullshit. And no matter how much a big of an asshole I am or stupid in some other regard, that's obviously the product of a character flaw inside your body.
Sit here, talk about tea, make fun of him, take a point about how he is with belts. What you call
I make fun of him. I mean, not in any major way do I make fun of him compared to the fun making being made all over the place. So in that sense, I'm not. And the very fact that I did respond to his video is...
So in the sense that you're taking part in the fun making that's going on all over the place, you didn't make fun of him. Right, I think we have a good example of your basic thinking here.
giving him some sense of, yes, I can forgive and forget. I don't give a shit about this past history shit. Once we know who we're dealing with, just don't let Brett babysit your goldfish. It's okay.
You could forgive and forget.
So fuck you.
The lies. They aren't lying to you. You really mean they're wrong in their opinion. And you really think about belches. Because you like to...
I'm not worried about it. I don't know. Maybe, okay, it doesn't bother you. It bothers me when somebody belches in my fucking face, and that's what the only way
No, I agreed with you. I thought it was very, very rude. It doesn't exactly bother me because I'm inured to it. I have a thick skin about it. This is the internet. But yeah, I thought you made a very good point. I thought it was funny that you were making it when you're calling me as bad as a white nationalist. That's the metaphor you come up with. Because there is no lesser metaphor. You can't say, it's like somebody where you like your egg runny and they like it solid. You can't work together with them on instant runoff voting, you asshole. No, you couldn't say that because that would be stupid. So you said something that was stupid in a different way. That, well, it's because I'm as bad as a white nationalist. Obviously, that's why in principle. Now, in practice, yeah, we couldn't work together because we could never compromise on a thing. And we couldn't really trust each other to compromise when the push came to shove, and it would break up then. And that is a threat to a partnership or collaboration. But that's different than you saying in principle you couldn't do it because I'm such a bad person. Why? How bad? Like a white nationalist. Okay, that makes you a liar and gives the evidence to you having bad character. Since there is no truth to that whatsoever, it is akin to a lie. You know that. You don't actually think I am a white nationalist. You didn't say I was a white nationalist. You said I'm like it. I'm as bad. So what the fuck am I really like, Mr. Technical Specific, don't be vague, that you could come up with that's going to be like, and see how that's just like as bad as white nationalists. What thing is that?
I can consider it. I'm listening to somebody. I'm trying to, especially people who have inflections in their voice and whatnot, like Fake Sagan and Brett Keane. Sometimes it compels a little careful listening. And I don't like somebody belching in my fucking face.
So I support the belching point. I just think that if you are talking about rudeness, that saying I am as bad as a white nationalist, and that's why the metaphor used to explain yourself, that is as bad as a belch. You get that? Do you get it? I'm saying that's as bad as belching in my face. I'm trying to listen to you talk about your crankpot science ideas, and you're belching in my face with white nationalism. If you said your ideas are crankpot, Piro, which you do say, you think little tiny parameciums are, have feelings, and they smell and like some of those smells and not the other ones. That's crackpot. That's fine. Saying I'm like a white nationalist is a character flaw.
just have anti-natalism. You can have anti-natalism videos, and you don't have to make them as much. But just don't go back to science. Another totally pointless contribution, if there was one, in terms of particularly what you're presenting.
Yeah, well, I don't even understand. So you have this, again, you go back and you vacillate in this critique. Oh, well, this is maybe useful, maybe not. I'm just saying I'll bury you on that subject eventually, so I'm so damn confident that, yeah, I'm going to rip you all you fuckers a new asshole. So go ahead, do some more of your superficial, vacuous, unsupported, undefended, unevidenced critique. Go ahead. Prove absolutely nothing, demonstrate absolutely nothing, all right, and it'll just give me more material to throw on you from the fucking mountain I'm going to build of something solid, fuckhead.
Well, it's true that you have a lot more time in the day to make a lot more hours worth of videos, but I don't think that will be enough to overcome the onslaught that you face.
And again, why would you have time for help and actual suffering in the real world?
Yeah, well,
I mean, basically, your only out is to bore me. And you make so many videos that some small percentage is not going to bore me, and then you're doomed.
whatever. It's another accusation. I don't have time.
And for everybody watching, you have to know, I've been talking to Gary for 10 years. The guy should have been friendly to me, should accept friendship and things like that. I like him fine, but I've decided that I should not, as a moral thing, let him get away with these similes. He's complaining that one day about the fact that he was called, Holocaust denier, and in spite of the fact that he has some, unconventional views on how that all went down, I more or less support him that those unconventional views are no reason to get pigeonholed. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about the subtleties. If we can't talk about the subtleties, let's not talk about it at all. You don't need to just have a million trolls try to jump on something like that, make someone look like they're a Holocaust denier, and him likening me to a white nationalist is doing that. He's 100% of a hypocrite. Now, I know you guys know, like me, he's also a sweetheart in there, and he loves cats and stuff. Yeah, that's how life is. That's how people are. That's how personalities are. They're complex. There's a whole metabolism. Everything is a system, and that includes people. And then they break down into subsystems. Some of those subsystems might be beautiful, and they might be right next to a subsystem, that calls friends or potential friends, white nationalists. Something I've never done to Gary, and the opportunity has arisen, and I will never do it, and I'm not implying it now. I think his views on that are like, well, what really happened here and there? It's an easy thing that, the Anti-Defamation League definitely would not waste time figuring out what the details were. I consider that kind of thing a petty advantage for people to jump on. And then here's Gary saying I'm like a white nationalist, and he has absolutely no examples. I mean, and when on my video I said, well, it's because I disagree with antinatalism. I'm pro-choice on that, and you don't like that. He denied that. So what is it then? Well, what is the thing that's like being a white nationalist or a Nazi? What is the thing? There's nothing. Not liking his crackpot theory? Yeah. And I didn't always call it crackpot. I mean, that's pretty much just the last couple weeks. Before that, I'm like, because I like people's individual. There's this guy, forget what was his original name, but he has this artist theory of space and time. It's very cool, promising. There's metaphors and ideas that come out of things like that. The only reason Gary can't be a part of that is because of bad character. If somebody gives his theory the time of day, he's going to abuse them. So that makes it hard to deal with your theory. You don't even have math yet. I mean, if you want to shove your theory down everybody's throat and be your own authority, you are going to have to get the math together. Otherwise, we're just laughing at you, because the math is the hard part. And that's why a lot of scientists are like, we don't really care about the interpretation, everybody. It's just that the math works, because you're going to have to make the math work. And you obviously haven't done much math if you think it'll just work out on its own.
Time for, yes, feeding cats every day. Helping neighbors, doing all the other bullshit I do. So fuck you and your fucking accusations. Fuck this.
What about Syrian refugees?
Yeah, well, again,
Syrian refugees, that's all I'm saying.
You want to say I lack empathy because I have, it's like importing people with diseases or something, or people who got cancer. Yeah, you have empathy, but we got people there.
Okay, but they don't all have cancer. They don't all have diseases. In what way do they? It's like you calling me a white nationalist, because these people don't all have diseases. They don't all have cancer. If they do, they could go to a hospital. "Oh, I can't go to the hospital." Why? Because it would reduce their suffering. That's expensive.
homeless. We got problems, and they're not going to fix those problems. They're only going to make those problems less fixable.
You don't keep me around to I'm okay.
Just to be clear for everybody trying to follow along, I think they will help with those problems. They will help with America's problems. Taking as many immigrants as possible, just open up the border. We could have 50 million more people. It would help. Those people would be so happy. Those are the kind of people. Americans, the longer they're here, the more entitled and asshole suburban shitheads they become, right? I love them too. It's all America. It's the way it works. We need the immigrants. We need the immigrants to have people that actually appreciate America. Because we don't. I mean, I do, but even me.
But you got a couple hours to watch Brett Keane together, so just want him.
Yeah, I got into the Brett Keane thing because fake Sagan came back. If you can't understand that, then you're really stupid. I didn't go out and say, I gotta go make some videos to Brett Keane. Did I do that? No. So again, and then Brett Keane.
No, the point is, Mr. Serious, I can't possibly take you seriously when you don't spend all of your time seriously.
Came after me, and I defended myself. So what the fuck do you want, jackass? You know, and again, what's wrong with Brett Keane when Brett Keane is on subject? I'm not doing drama videos with Brett Keane.
See, you're real simple-minded. It's not that you shouldn't talk to Brett Keane. It's that you should admit it's a bit frivolous. And as it's a bit frivolous, you should not rant at other people that they're totally irredeemable because of 5 frivolous minutes where they point out that you finally technically conceded to the fact that paramecium have feelings.
Keane?
None of it. Yeah, sometimes I make the joke that you got to just like your actual actions are good. Right?
Well, let's also understand, if you go look at the Brett Keane video, it's pretty highly rated. It's a pretty, I guess in a sense, his questions are creative enough and useful enough to glean some sort.
Ha ha ha! It's highly rated, and I don't use any kind of authority fallacy. Who gives a fuck how it's rated? Are you? Why be dipshit for a second? What do you get? Oh, you're posting this on your channel, so this isn't the real you. 'Cause I know the real you well enough to know you could give a fat fuck how something's rated as an indicator of if it's worthwhile. You're like doing a drunken peasants thing, just out and out talking to some idiots you imagine are out there. Well, you know what? I think your audience is smarter than that, and I don't think they're going to fall for it.
Sort of useful information out of me. So again, he's somebody who's getting me to produce better content. He's not wasting my time arguing land tax for 765 years, or how stupid the idea of an open border is if you understand that.
We've never talked about land tax, I don't think, except for when you came into my room. So there you are, again, exaggerating, basically a lie. I haven't wasted any of your time. You came into my room and we've talked about land taxes. I didn't go waste your time, and even if we did it on YouTube, I didn't waste any of your time. You might not realize, but you've talked to me the same way you've talked to Brett Keane because, well, I thought there'd be something in it. The only difference is that you lose all your arguments with me. So the parts that are arguments, you lose, so you feel it's been unproductive. Whereas with Brett Keane, you feel like you win. So, boom, worth it. Meanwhile, fuck the Syrian refugees. They can keep suffering with their objective suffering. Right? I think I have you pretty much nailed.
Culture is complex and delicate.
You go, you're going to use this up to me. And you're going like, ooh, very careful, Brett Keane, answer carefully. It's reality, you face it, you gotta check, my friend.
So yeah, why don't you ask questions like that? So why don't you ask me some questions then? You know, those gonna be the questions. When was the last time you had a head check? Did Brett Keane do that, jackass? No. How preposterous are you so clueless that you can't see how fucking preposterous your physics ideas are? You ask me that question, fuckhead.
Oh, that's right, we're not going to say that. Maybe we're not going to.
I don't know what this whole meet in real life thing was. I said right when we were talking. I said, gee, this is just so fucking much like a video. I said it. What's the real life thing? Just doesn't, you know, it just doesn't do the same thing it did for you. Apparently that it does for me. Breathing a little bit of the same air for 3 hours just isn't that big of a deal.
Well, it's not that it's a big deal, but I had to tell you that it affected my perspective because, of the reasons I already explained. So I feel like when you only know someone online, you should realize they're a real human and treat them in a humane way. But it is harder. It's just like it's hard, even though you know the actor isn't the person in the show, you kind of think about them that way, or their mannerisms, or something about their sense of humor. You could kind of think you see through. And probably you know, well, no, I don't really know. They could be a totally, Kelsey Grammer could be a Republican or whatever. Not that that was that hard to see. But when you meet someone in real life, in person, then there really is no way that a person with good character would not recognize that person's as a human.
Language, you're doing it, right? I'm not actually doing it. The concept of locality and realism are 100 years old. And they're very technical. You say, well, not technical. Well, you have not yet learned the terms. So you say it's not explicit. And they're vague. No, you don't even know. As far as I know, because you won't repeat it or listen to it till the end of the sentence. So there's no reason to think you understand it. So you're saying all these things about it. Since you don't know what it is, it's obviously more like, well, it can't be over your head. But because you're like, I don't like the shadow that's casting. Your work, you don't acknowledge, you find out, oh, it does say something about this. But of course, it went in the sense that your answer, like I said, you projected that visual word.
I don't even care. Again, I really don't. I just never thought I had that talking about physics means I have to say the word realism somewhere, or natural, or some other kind of stupid ass bullshit word. I didn't know that was vital.
You don't have to say it, but when someone else you're discussing with says, well, what do you think about this? They use a word because maybe you know the word, and then you don't know the word, and then the word isn't that important, and you let me describe the idea, and you say, oh, well, my system would be this way or that way, and then it tells me a little bit about your system. And that's the idea of using not just your own words, but also accepting other people's words, because that's how the communication, the sense in which it's two directions.
Frankly.
That's lazy. And so, well, yeah, you're going to go, no, that's good, man. I do it. Yeah, but that's...
I mean, I really haven't heard any of your jargon. Frankly, when I watch the physics performances by the talking heads, the Michiaya Cuckoos and whatever his name is, bow tie guy and that guy and the other guy, I don't see any of them using this jargon.
The unfairness part of your attitude where you think you get to lay down everything. You can make new language. I can use old language.
Well, you can, but again, what are your sacred words that I'm required to use? I'm required to use a word called realism.
It's... Yeah, when it becomes relevant, there's a concept. If you don't want to use the word because you don't know it, fine. Then you let the person explain the concept, just like we're letting you explain your concept.
You don't see how that's a loaded term, for fuck's sake?
No, how is that a loaded term? And if it's loaded, think of another word. People advocating that the physical system should have a realism, they're on your side. The people arguing it should have localism, they're on your side. The realism means no superposition, no going through both slits. You go through one or the other. That's what you believe. Localism, that's, hey, of course there's no spooky action at a distance. That's your side. Both those terms describe things that you believe in. And you reject them because you're afraidy. You're afraidy cat of them. You're afraid. There's no other explanation, since they don't describe things that you disagree with. They describe things you agree with.
Of course, it's not game duty. You want to acknowledge that. You can call that a word game. Well, to me, you're obviously in a huge emotional evade. Yeah, emotional. You're very emotional about it. Evasion mode. Okay.
Now, again, what am I evading? I'm trying to detail the nature of what physics is made out of, the subjects that are the key subjects to physics, and I'm just saying that...
You're trying to evade terms that you think are loaded, and to even know those words requires you to concede some position. Just to know a word will make you have to change your mind. How could that be? How could that be unless that term would somehow clarify what you're thinking? I don't see. I mean, you used the example of Holy Ghost earlier. I know that word. It didn't make me believe in God.
You can only do one of these subjects at a time, realistically. So you got to keep your Heisenberg out of your thermodynamic conversations.
Relativity is about these relationships, and you say there is an absolute position, and that's just